It's gotten loud on the internet with how big of a blowout that particular game was. A lot of people taking a lot of shots at the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of people have been waiting for this moment to bury the Kansas City Chiefs. What we'd like to say to Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, and the boys over there, hey, congrats on a hell of a year. AFC champions still yet again. I think they've been to 6 out of the last 7 Super Bowls or something like that. Fair. What you're talking about in Kansas City is absolutely iconic. It is absurd. And we assume they'll rebuild and be back next year in the same exact conversation. With that being said, Philadelphia hoisting the Lombardi is an absolutely beautiful thing. Coach Sirianni, who was questioned all year, was able to rally the boys. Jalen Hurts, who can't threw it all over the yard. Saquon Barkley, who was a New York Giant. I learned about his story a little bit during the Fox lead-up coverage. Hey, Fox did a great job, I thought.
Without a doubt.
Fox did a great job with the lead-in coverage. It's like 5 hours, different pieces, different stories, different superstars, a lot of this, a lot of that. I mean, Gronk interviewing Travis Kelce, brilliant. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady interviewing Patrick Mahomes, brilliant. Them having all the pieces that they have there, beautiful. I thought Fox did a great job in the coverage leading up, but I also learned a lot about Saquon in high school, whenever, I think he went to Zephyr or something like that, I believe was the name, Zephyr. Don't know if that was the school or the name of the team, so apologize for that. But when he was a sophomore, he was too small, they said. He was too small whenever he was a sophomore in high school. Then he put him on the field first play, gone. And all of a sudden the head coach said, I should have been playing this guy a little bit earlier. And then that's all she wrote, right through high school, right into Penn State, where he was jumping all over people, all over the place. He actually talked about an Oklahoma drill, James Franklin, and I think we all saw it go mega viral, where it's an offensive lineman, a linebacker, and then I believe a safety. And somehow the defense just demolished everybody that was blocking them. And it was Saquon Barkley versus 4 defenders with his teams all around him in like a 5-yard radius space. Saquon, boom, shakes the entirety, scores, and while he's scoring, he jumps through the end zone. His entire team goes crazy. He has always been beloved by his teammates, always been electrifying. Nobody knew, though, if you could ride a running back in a run game in 2025 to a Super Bowl. They did. They absolutely did. Now, his worst game obviously comes in the Super Bowl because the defense was 100% focused on him. They weren't going to let him sneeze without being the first ones to say, God bless you, we hate you. He was all over the place all season. Last night he was contained, but that opened up for everybody else. And what Jalen Hurts was able to do with that offense was beautiful. To the tune of 40-plus points in the Super Bowl? Are you kidding me? Obviously, Dotson catches the dot here, which leads to the tush-push party. First points, first score, Jalen Hurts, touchdown. A lot of people thought that. Gabe Morency gave it to us plus 450 on Friday as one of his guarantees to happen, but a lot of people were betting on that. And what happened after that would be an onslaught of domination from this Philadelphia Eagles offense, with A.J. Brown getting in, Devontae Smith getting into the action, Goddard got into it, and this guy, Jake Elliott, the kicker for the Philadelphia Eagles, had a rough year. By far his roughest year since he's come into the NFL. But when the playoffs started, he goes back to being playoff Jake Elliott and goes absolutely apeshit, pured every single kick. Then the exciting whites showed up in New Orleans in the second quarter, where a rookie on his birthday, a Caucasoid named Bradley Cooper DeJean, has a pick 6 against Patrick Mahomes in his first ever year in the NFL and his first ever Super Bowl in the NFL. I mean, this guy living an absolute dream yesterday. And from one thing to the next, Patrick Mahomes was out of sorts because this Eagles defense went bananas. They went absolute apeshit. And there's Zach Bond, potential defensive player of the year, back in New Orleans. When he played for the Saints, he was just a special teams guy. Now he's an absolute megastar for the Philadelphia Eagles. What we saw last night was an ass beating, a drumming. It was something that the Chiefs had no answer for, and even the biggest Chiefs fans had to give up hope in that third quarter. You know, Patrick Mahomes could potentially make magic happen out of nowhere. That's part of his greatness. Travis Kelce can get open against anybody except for this Kansas City Chiefs team. They had 6 eyes on Travis Kelce damn near all the time, and somehow they weren't able to get anybody else open. Somehow they weren't able to really go until late in the fourth quarter. I think they had a total of 60 yards going into the third quarter after it all was said and done. So what the Eagles defense did to a Kansas City Chiefs team that we thought was still going to be in it, they're down 20-plus. We still think Patrick Mahomes is going to do his thing. Smothered, ended. Jalen Hurts continued to make massive plays, and the Philadelphia Eagles now are world champions once again.
Hell yeah.
It was a hell of a year. Let's go to the talk table at Boston Connor and at Ty Schmidt. What kind of stood out to you last night, Con Man?
I think it was just the presence of Saquon, really. Like that last touchdown we just showed Devontae Smith play action. You know, we've talked about it, the alumni section, middle of the field. They get a massive fourth down stop. First thing you do, hey, we're going to hand it to Saquon. He's our bell cow. You get all those linebackers sucked up, boom. And then boom, touchdown. And that kind of was all she wrote. There were multiple times where I thought, hey, the Chiefs might go, That was kind of it. But Saquon's just presence, really. You know, of course, he had, less than 60 rush yards. He had 40 receiving yards, so still getting involved. But just his entire story, you know, kind of almost got disrespected with some of the offers. You can't pay this guy $13 million. Yeah, you can, because he fulfilled it probably better than anyone in the history of running backs with a brand new team. Just an incredible story for him. From Philly, a PA guy, you know, goes to Penn State, then wins it for the Eagles. It was just incredible, and the running back position is all the way back.
Yeah, I think so, especially if you got a super talent like Saquon Barkley. And the thing that adds to that story is he had 2 other offers that were bigger from somewhere else. 2 other teams had bigger offers to Saquon Barkley to come be their running back, and he picked the Philadelphia Eagles because of the offensive line, because of the setup, and because of the proximity to his home. I mean, I love whenever something works out how it's supposed to, and I think exactly how Saquon Barkley drew it up was exactly how this motherfucker worked out. He ends the season as the all-time leading rusher in a season, has the most amount of yards that any running back has ever had in a season. Now, that obviously adds in the playoffs, but those are the most important games. So he has the best season a running back has ever had back in his hometown team that is in the division of the team that said, I don't think we can pay you that amount of money, and he wins the Super Bowl. Congrats to Saquon. You're right.
I mean, 3 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game. So, like, people who are, you know, he was the favorite. He was minus 190 to score a touchdown yesterday. Obviously didn't get in, but like he got him there.
And
you know? he had some pretty cool highlights.
He did have some cool highlights.
Yeah, put that in Madden, even though Madden still stinks.
Speaking about I don't know.
I played it yesterday. I was like, you know what? It's 2:00. Super Bowl's coming on. I might as well play
the game.
The game. You know, I might as well see what's going to happen. Yeah, it still stinks.
Okay, well, hopefully they'll get that fixed out sometime. That's been a while. They've been figuring it out, right?
Yeah, they've been on their way.
They hear the fans. They hear them. We hear what you guys are saying. We're going to get it fixed.
And they appreciate the fans.
They do.
Yes, they do.
It's you who we work hard every single day for, says Madden. Hopefully they get that worked out.
Down the road.
Hopefully they get that fixed out. But nonetheless, let's go to a quarterback now that will be a world champion forever, Tosh, man.
Yeah, it's very tough not to be impressed with Jalen Hurts leading up into the week. And it wasn't just AQ who was saying, hey, they can't beat these guys regardless of how good their offensive line is. It's because of Jalen Hurts. Hembo put a stat out this morning of all quarterbacks who have played in at least 2 Super Bowls. He's the only one whose completion percentage is over 70%. So I think he takes a lot of heat just for people being like, all he's going to do is try to run. Like, he can throw. You know, like Jalen Hurts actually can throw the football. And a lot of people don't like him. I don't know if it's his personality. I don't know if it's the way he carries himself or what, but like, he just, you know, I mean, we talk about other people for the Eagles getting kind of shit on all season and, you know, just crucified pretty much. Like, he was right there, and you look at his stats, and it's kind of weird. It's like, man, it almost doesn't add up, you know? I mean, but a lot of people said, hey, if they lose this game, it's because Jalen Hurts couldn't get it done. He does not, you know, hold a candle to Patrick Mahomes in terms of the comparison between those two. He did whatever he wanted to, and every single time he had a rush lane, he took it, and they didn't. They just had no answer for him. So, and we talked about the stat too. Any Super Bowl rematches, the quarterback who won the first matchup had been undefeated. He's the first guy to actually go in there and beat the team that beat him the first time. So, hats off to him. I mean, I think people forget, too, he's only 26 years old. Like, the Eagles are set up for a really long time now. And then outside of him, I'd just be remiss if I didn't say how proud and just how much pride I have in the fact that an Iowa guy, Cooper DeJean, because I felt it all week. I really did. I said, this guy's going to score a defensive touchdown. He was a ball hawk, you know, like playmaker at Iowa. He hadn't had a turnover all year. And for him to get a pick six on his birthday in the Super Bowl as a rookie, like,
as
an exciting white, you know, that certainly doesn't hurt. But like, that dude's an Iowa legend, you know, like, I mean, the same vein like Kurt Warner, he didn't go to Iowa, but you get it, you know. It's like people will talk about him forever, and kids are going to grow up wanting to be Cooper DeJean. Like, it's just, as an Iowan, that's really sweet.
Yeah, that is sweet, and shout out to Cooper having a mega football moment that he can cherish literally forever and sign autographs for forever as a rookie.
Yeah.
You know? So to say it's been a successful run, I'd say yes for Cooper DeJean in that entire Philadelphia Eagles defense. 9-year NFL vet. Darius J. Butler.
Yes, sir.
What was your big takeaway from last night?
I mean, obviously, you got to start with the quarterback, so just kind of piggybacking off of what you said. Jalen Hurts is really the reason I became an Eagles fan, just because of everything he's done, not only from the college level, but since coming into the NFL. But even though he said it, defense wins championships, and that's still always the case. Vic Fangio's been in the league a long, long time. His first year was actually the year I was born, 1986.
Wow.
He was coaching the linebackers out on the Saints. The Dome Patrol, Ricky Jackson, a Pahokee legend, Hall of Famer, Sam Mills, those guys. He was a linebacker coach there and has been a defensive coordinator over 20 years in the National Football League now. Was 0-8 before this game against Patrick Mahomes. And just coming into this game, you know what Vic Fangio, Brady mentioned it a couple times on the broadcast. He's going to play an umbrella defense, a cover 4 shell. He's going to rally his defense, going to tackle, and he's going to get after you with 4 pass rushers. And these pass rushers absolutely dominated the game from the beginning. Milton Williams was a superstar, had 2 sacks, a strip sack late in the game. Josh Allen was great. He had a couple sacks. Cooper DeJean, you mentioned the pick 6, obviously putting points on the board. Zach Bond had a pick deep into their territory, setting up for points as well. So coming into this game, you knew the ball was going to be key, taking care of the ball and taking away the ball. They obviously won that battle there. The first 9 possessions, the Chiefs didn't pass midfield. So you're talking about an Andy Reid, a Patrick Mahomes led Chiefs offense that couldn't get past midfield. One of the most dominant performances I've ever seen in the Super Bowl. So just hats off to this Philadelphia Eagles team and this defense specifically.
Matt Patricia last week, whenever he stopped by the program, he said, you go out through the history of the Super Bowl or the NFL.
Yeah.
Any team that has the number 1 defense and the number 1 rushing offense wins the Super Bowl. That's just that is literally a recipe that has been entrenched in football since the beginning. If you can run the football, guess what you can do? You keep the other team off the field.
Yep.
And if you have good defense, guess what that means? 3 and out. They're off the field even less. So whenever you talk about just strictly this being a possession territory sport, whenever your defense is able to dominate the other team and hold all ground, and whenever your offense is able to just matriculate and methodically take your land, I mean, that's a winning recipe since the beginning of time in football. And I love the fact, and, I tweeted this last night. I love the fact that in 2025, a lot of things can be said about everything that has kind of happened over the last 10 years in our existence. Okay, a lot of things. In football, you're always going to have to be tough.
Yeah.
Like that is just how the sport requires it. Now, there's going to be some positions where less of it is required. For instance, I was a punter. Don't have to be as tough. Kickers don't have to be as tough. Long snappers, kind of getting targeted last night. Don't love that.
A little bit.
Don't love that. That's probably his motion every single snap. And they called it probably don't have to be as tough. Still have to take hits, have to be tougher than a modern human, but don't have to be as tough. But in football, you got to be tough. At some point, you're going to take a massive shot, and you're going to be expected to get right back up. And the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles pride themselves on being dogs.
Yep.
Like that's what Nick Sirianni says, we're dogs over here. What does dogs mean? Well, dogs probably means they're going to be mentally and physically tough. Like that is what a dog mentality is. That is what Coach Sirianni has been just pressing out to the world and also to his players and to Howie, as Howie has pieced this team together in a fantastic way. Truly an epic performance by Howie Roseman building this team back up. A few years back they win the Super Bowl. They get rid of everybody. They get rid of everybody, basically. He has to rebuild this thing. New quarterback, new coach, new team, new vibes in the city. Everybody's expecting now championship because we already won it, and that's Philadelphia in a whole. We don't have time for transition era. We don't have time for turnover. How are you going to do it? Well, he somehow managed to keep an identity. We're going to be a tough football team. Finding dogs in free agency, in the draft, hitting home runs in the draft on a very regular basis. Whenever he's paying people or bringing people in, they need to fit our culture. Everybody needs to be rowing the same direction, which Sirianni will kind of take care of. But also, we're going to bring in superstars. By far the best roster we've seen in the NFL in a long time. In college, there's no cap. Well, yet.
Sure.
Allegedly, a cap is coming. Allegedly.
Yeah.
But in college, there's no cap. You can pay whoever, whatever. So the teams that paid the most, you saw them in the end of the college football playoff. I mean, it's not just them either. It was other teams, but like whoever paid the most because you get the most amount of studs, your team's probably going to be better than the other team. Now, I'm not saying studs always win, but if you get a bunch of studs and they buy in, that team's probably going to beat a team that doesn't have studs and buys it. But now, granted, I think teams can overperform with how much of a team they are. You get it. It's certainly a team sport. But if you have a team filled with dudes that are making a shit ton of money because they're good at sports, you're probably having a better opportunity to win, which is why whenever 31 other teams' fan bases go, pay them, get them, pay them, get them, pay them, get them, and your teams always say, we can't because it's a salary cap. can't do that. Can't pay this guy and also pay this guy. Howie's paid everybody. Everybody on their team. 3 of their offensive linemen are in the top 11 pays around the entire NFL. 3 of them. That's just on the offensive line. Let alone a quarterback, 2 wide receivers, running back, and then on the defensive side having to do the same damn thing. Whenever you talk about putting together a roster, managing egos, managing expectations, you name it, what Howie Roseman and Sirianni have done over there with obviously Jeff Lurie at the top and Big Dom paisaning through the entirety of it all.
Everywhere.
It's like congratulations to them too. Yeah. Congratulations. I hope they're enjoying the hell. I hope they are literally, you reap what you sow and all that type of stuff. I hope they're enjoying what the hell they sowed. That's not easy to do, especially in the world that we're in. So congratulations to Howie putting a great team together. And on paper, going into the game, everybody with a brain was like, this Eagles team.
They're a lot better.
Like whenever they do ranking for college football, they always look at the roster. And it's like, well, this roster has this many 5-stars. It has to be better than this roster. And, it's hard not to get caught up in that in college ball because you never know who's going to show up week to week. But in the NFL, it's like this roster is healthy and this roster is loaded everywhere. They're in the Super Bowl. Let's assume they like each other. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's assume they like each other at this point, which is what a team has to have to be great. Have to have chemistry. Have to, amongst the people you play with if you want to make it to the Super Bowl. So it's like on roster, on paper, it was like this team's going to win. This team right here has to win. This team might beat the shit out of this other team.
The blowout question you asked on Friday.
Yeah, so we literally had that conversation. We said, do we think the Chiefs could blow out the Philadelphia Eagles? No. Do we think Philadelphia Eagles could blow out the Chiefs?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody said yes. I think AJ actually brought it up. He'll be joining us here in a matter of moments. It's like, it was certainly possible. We just thought the Chiefs magic. Like literally, that's if you were betting on the Chiefs, you were only thinking of the Chiefs magic and the Patrick Mahomes magic. And there was a couple moments where you're like, whoa, and then all of a sudden the Eagles D-line just said, nope, we ain't doing that shit. That ain't how we playing. A drop by D-Hop here. Obviously, Travis Kelce not getting targeted as much. They consider that one a drop. Was that his ankle?
Tough.
I don't know if 22-year-old Travis would have been able to get down to that, but nonetheless, he never got going. Just didn't look like the Chiefs that we thought could potentially make magic and get a win. So insane run by them, but what a team by the Eagles. Now, let's go to one half of the hammer.
Dahn.
Cowboys AP tone. How'd the bets fall out from last night?
The bets fell out well for the public as far as the game was concerned. Obviously, everyone's hearts and souls wanted the Eagles to win, and they bet like that. Over 60% of the bets were on the Eagles. And boy, it was like the wet bandits. It was a soak all night long from the first kick to the final whistle. It was Eagles all night. There was never a worry in the world. The top 5 bets that were registered in the U.S., ranging from $400,000 to $1 million, were all on the Eagles. So those all did very well as well. Now the public got crushed a little bit in the prop market. Saquon over did not hit. Mahomes over rushing attempts did not hit. Goddard over did not hit. Kelce over did not hit. But as far as the game was concerned, everyone was on the Eagles, and that was a soak, my friend.
Okay, so let's talk about your bets that you gave out last week, because it felt like I saw a lot of Jalen, a lot of Mahomes running.
Yeah, things went well there. So we had the fourth quarter rushing yards for both quarterbacks. Those both went over. Mahomes had 7. Jalen had 17, and then Kenny came in luckily, so we didn't have to worry about the kneel down. Thank you, Kenny. I appreciate it. Always on your side. Both quarterbacks to complete their first.
Kenny Pickett won Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett, Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Kenny.
Kenny Pickett ended the Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Think about that.
Who's doing victory formation? Fucking victory Kenny Pickett.
That's right.
Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett. Congratulations to him, especially with how it all went down in Pittsburgh, the place he went to school. Literally was in the same building at University of Pittsburgh, and then with the Steelers, and then it ends with everybody saying, get him out of here. I don't think he deserved that. Kenny Pickett was always good to us. Congratulations on being a Super Bowl champion, Kenny Pickett. And also him doing the kneel downs didn't take away any rush yards from Jalen. Jalen.
Yeah, KP, congrats. He's a guy you could have a beer with and save that bet. Both quarterbacks to complete their first pass. Let's get the drives going. Let's go there. We're good there. We got that one. This wasn't on a graphic, but we had it when Gabe was on. Drew Tranquill, plus 750, leading tackler in the game. That was a nice one there. We talked on Tuesday. We had Goddard, Kelce, first drive. Those didn't work out. Goddard had one on the second drive, but we also said Worthy. Worthy did have one on the first drive. So it was a nice little week for the gambling on the show.
Hey, great work this year on the gambling. To the hammer, Dahn. Boys, we appreciate you, Gumpy. Good work back there, pal, even though you bet that Chiefs.
Had to do it. Had to ride till the end.
Gumpy just didn't want Vic Fangio over to win a Super Bowl. A lot of Dolphins fans, they're supporting Vic Fangio now. Is that what I'm seeing?
I think they were, and also the guy Javon Holland kicked rocks when we did the video kicking rocks when Vic left and went to the Eagles. He was saying how great he called the game last night, so that was awesome.
Well, he was kicking rocks because he was upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually one of the guys that wanted Vic gone. So thanks,
okay.
Javon.
Jeez, allegedly, we were. I mean, probably. I don't know. I did not follow the situation close enough.
Yeah.
All I do know is the Dolphins fans were pumped that Vic Fangio was getting out of there. We were having conversations about, is Vic Fangio about to retire? Is this thing done?
This guy's long in the tooth.
This thing done?
He can retire now.
Super Bowl champ. Guy got it done. You said 1986 he was doing what?
1986 was his first year, his first NFL gig in New Orleans, actually. Where, he got a text from the Dome Patrol, too. He said it was waiting for him in his phone.
That's awesome. How about
awesome.
Jalen Carter, Sweat? What was old buddy, Milton?
Milton Williams.
Yeah, no.
He ran a what?
4.61.
Yeah.
Nolan Smith.
300 pounds.
Yeah. Bryce Huff showed up.
Huff,
He
yeah.
made some plays last time. I mean, just that whole, especially in the world of where we get so caught up in exotics and overload blitzes and all these different things. Like Vic Fangio, hey, this is the defense I run. This is how I coach it. This is how it's executed. For everybody over there to buy in and to completely turn around that defense and what they are, who they are, and to put on a performance like this against a quarterback like that, just unbelievable all time.
You think about how the Eagles season ended last year, and then you think about how it ended this year.
Yeah.
Vastly different. Instead of falling off, they picked up.
Yeah.
They played their best ball whenever they needed it. Congrats to the Eagles. Maybe Coach Sirianni isn't a...
Big dumb dipshit.
Well...